Today, I'll recap a spine-chilling 2003 horror action film, Wrong Turn, so keep your eyes wide open and stay safe. The story begins deep in the dense, eerie West Virginia forest. Two college students, Hallie and Rich, are on a rock-climbing adventure. Rich reaches the top of the cliff, taking in the breathtaking view while Hallie struggles with her climb. Hallie's climb takes a horrifying turn as her grip slips and she falls, but her climbing line saves her from a deadly drop. Calling out for Rich to help pull her up, she hears nothing in return. When Hallie looks up, terror strikes her heart. Rich's lifeless body lies at the top of the cliff, only to be cruelly tossed over the edge. Panic sets in as someone unseen begins pulling her up the cliff by her rope. Desperate to escape, Hallie takes the unthinkable risk of cutting her own line. She crashes down, landing on Rich's mangled body. Fighting through her fear, Hallie runs through the forest, but the ominous laughter in the trees seems to follow her. Every step feels like a nightmare come to life. Just as she nears her car, salvation in sight, she trips over barbed wire. The unseen force drags her back into the dark, twisted woods as her screams echo through the night. Chris Flynn, a determined medical student, is driving through the rugged mountains of West Virginia, hurrying to make it to an important job interview. His plans take a sudden twist when he encounters a roadblock caused by a chemical spill. With no other option, Chris decides to take a detour. Stopping at an old, rundown gas station, he meets a gruff, mysterious old man. The man hands Chris a dusty map, giving him directions to an alternative route through the wilderness. Trusting the advice, Chris sets off down a narrow dirt road, the forest growing thicker and darker around him. As he navigates the bumpy path, disaster strikes. Chris's car loses control and crashes into a Range Rover abandoned in the middle of the road. He discovers the car belongs to a group of friends on a hiking trip: Jesse, Carly, Carly's fiancé Scott, and a couple, Evan and Francine. Surveying the scene, Jesse uncovers a chilling clue: a piece of barbed wire tied tightly across the road, clearly a trap meant to puncture tires. Realizing something is very wrong, Jesse, Carly, and Scott decide to venture into the woods to find help. Chris, seeing no better option, chooses to join them. Evan and Francine stay behind with the vehicles. The couple spends some time together, sharing moments of intimacy before Evan turns his attention to fixing the car. While Francine relaxes in Chris's car, Evan hears a strange noise coming from the woods. Curiosity, or perhaps unease, compels him to investigate, leaving the safety of the vehicles behind. After some time, Francine notices that Evan hasn't come back. Worried, she decides to search for him in the woods. Her calls echo through the silent trees, but there's no answer. As she ventures deeper, she stumbles across a chilling sight: Evan's sneaker lying on the ground. Her heart races as she moves closer, only to find Evan's severed ear nearby. Fear takes over, and Francine stumbles back, gasping. Before she can scream, a shadowy figure emerges, wrapping barbed wire around her mouth. The sharp metal tears her face as she struggles in vain. Meanwhile, Chris, Jesse, Carly, and Scott continue their desperate search for help. They come across a rundown, isolated cabin in the woods. Hoping for aid, they cautiously step inside, but are met with a horrifying scene. The cabin is filled with random objects: barbed wire, car keys, and scattered trinkets. Then they notice the most disturbing finds: human body parts stuffed in the refrigerator and lying around the bathroom. Panic sets in as the group realizes the danger they're in. They try to leave quietly, but just as they plan their escape, the occupants of the cabin return. The group has no choice but to hide. 3 disfigured mountain men, monstrous in appearance, enter the cabin. To the group's horror, the men carry Francine's lifeless body. Frozen with fear, Chris, Jesse, Carly, and Scott watch in silence as the mountain men butcher her body with gruesome precision. The cannibals begin eating parts of Francine, their grotesque feast playing out in front of the terrified onlookers. The group clings to their hiding spots, their hearts pounding, knowing that any sound could lead to their doom. As the cannibals drift into a deep sleep, the friends decide it's their chance to escape. They tiptoe silently, reaching the door with their hearts pounding. Chris holds the door open, making sure Jesse, Carly, and Scott get out safely. He keeps an eye on the sleeping cannibals, but the unexpected happens. Sawtooth stirs awake. Chris bolts for the woods, and Jesse quickly signals Carly and Scott to run too. Their quiet escape turns into a frantic sprint as Sawtooth alerts the other cannibals, and the chase begins. The group stumbles upon a clearing filled with abandoned cars. It dawns on them: these vehicles belong to the mutants' victims. Panic sets in as they realize the scale of the horror they're caught in. Thinking quickly, Chris creates a diversion, but one of the cannibals shoots him in the leg with a shotgun. Scott, showing incredible bravery, uses himself as a decoy. While the cannibals are distracted chasing Scott, Jesse and Carly manage to steal one of the cannibals' trucks and get Chris inside. Desperate to save their friend, they drive through the forest, searching for Scott. Carly spots him running toward them. Relief fills the truck as Scott nears, but their hopes are shattered when he's struck by 3 arrows in the back, fired with deadly precision. The arrows narrowly miss the others in the truck. Chris, realizing the danger, forces Jesse to floor the gas and drive away before they're all killed. The group speeds off, their hearts heavy with the loss of Scott. Looking back, they see the cannibals carrying Scott's lifeless body back to their gruesome cabin. With every mile they put between themselves and the cabin, the weight of their situation sinks in. They're in a fight for survival, and the nightmare isn't over yet. Chris, Jesse, and Carly continue their escape but hit a dead end on the road. With no other choice, they abandon the truck and start on foot. Carly, still devastated by Scott's death, lags behind, overwhelmed with grief. Chris and Jesse take a moment to comfort her, reminding her they need to keep moving if they want to survive. Eventually, they come across an old, abandoned watchtower and climb up, hoping for refuge. Inside, they find a radio. Their hopes lift as they use it to call for help, but no one responds. Suddenly, they spot the cannibals at the base of the watchtower, armed with torches. Before they can figure out their next move, the radio crackles to life, answering their distress call. The loud noise alerts the cannibals, who immediately fire at the tower, shattering the radio through the window. As the situation worsens, the mountain men climb the tower and set it ablaze. Chris, Jesse, and Carly have no choice but to leap out of the window into the nearby trees. They scramble to climb higher into the thick branches, but unknown to them, Three Finger has already climbed into the tree, waiting for them. Chris and Jesse keep climbing to a nearby tree, urging Carly to follow. Exhausted, Carly pauses to rest, but before she can move, Three Finger ambushes her. With a gruesome swing of his axe, he splits her head, sending her lifeless body crashing through the trees below. Chris and Jesse can only watch in shock before resuming their desperate climb. They eventually escape the cannibals and find a cave near a waterfall where they hide until morning. Jesse is shaken by a nightmare, but Chris comforts her, promising they'll make it out alive. As they venture back into the woods, they finally find a road. Relief fills the air, but it's short-lived. The mountain men catch up to them, pushing Chris down a steep hill and capturing Jesse. Chris survives the fall but is left bruised and desperate. Staggering onto the road, he spots a sheriff and rushes to warn him. Before Chris can explain, an arrow pierces the sheriff's eye, killing him instantly. Panicked, Chris leaps into the police truck, searching for the keys, but they're nowhere to be found. Hiding beneath the truck, Chris watches as the cannibals load the sheriff's body into the vehicle. When they drive off toward their cabin, Chris clings to the underside of the truck, determined to save Jesse and end this nightmare once and for all. When the cannibals return to their cabin, Jesse is tied to a bed with a dog leash gagging her mouth. Tears stream down her face as she struggles helplessly, knowing her life is hanging by a thread. Just as the cannibals prepare to kill her, Chris crashes into the scene, driving the sheriff's truck straight through the cabin and slamming into one eye. Chris wastes no time untying Jesse, and together, they face the remaining mountain men. Jesse grabs a bow and fires an arrow into Sawtooth, hitting him square in the back. Three Finger lunges at them, but Jesse and Chris fight back fiercely, bringing him down with a powerful swing of an axe. As the dust settles, they realize the cannibals are still alive, crawling from the wreckage. Chris and Jesse rush outside to plan their next move. With only one shotgun shell left, Chris makes a bold decision. He fires at the gas tank of the truck, causing an explosive blast that engulfs the cabin and traps the cannibals inside. The pair escapes in the cannibals' truck, driving away from the nightmare. They stop at the old gas station, where Chris, badly injured but determined, gets out. He burns the map to the cannibals' cabin, ensuring no one else will ever stumble into the horrors of those woods. With the map destroyed, Chris climbs back into the truck. Jesse takes the wheel, driving them away from the cursed forest as the credits roll, marking the end of their harrowing journey. As the credits roll, they're suddenly interrupted by a chilling scene. A deputy sheriff arrives at the smoldering remains of the destroyed cabin, carefully stepping through the wreckage. He pokes around, taking notes and examining the eerie aftermath, but the silence doesn't last. Out of the shadows, Three Finger emerges, battered but very much alive. His twisted grin spreads across his disfigured face as he sneaks up behind the unsuspecting deputy. Before the officer can react, Three Finger strikes, ending his life in a brutal attack. The screen fades to black, but the deputy's fate lingers in the air. Echoing through the darkness is the sound of Three Fingers' insane, bone-chilling laughter, leaving an unsettling final impression as the credits resume. So, which awesome movie should we recap next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below and let's make it happen. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button so you never miss out on our movie recaps. We've got plenty more coming your way. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Produced by Warner Movie Recaps.